Hello guys, this is InfoRx. We are the tech experts. If you need tech-related information, subscribe our channel and click the bell button. Follow our social media pages. Okay, let's go to the topic. Lenovo Legion Pro 516 IRX9 laptop review. Legion Pro 516 G9 includes several adjustments over last year's Legion Pro 516 G8, both internally and externally. However, there's no escaping the fact that the model is on the bigger and heavier side even for a 16-inch gaming laptop, not to be confused with the visually different Legion 516 IRX9. The Legion Pro 516 IRX9 directly succeeds last year's Legion Pro 516 IRX8. It swaps out the 2023 Raptor Lake HX CPUs for the 2024 Raptor Lake HX refresh lineup while introducing slight visual changes and a new third display option. Our unit in review is a higher-end configuration with the Core i9-1490HX CPU, 140W GeForce RTX 4070 GPU, N1600P 165Hz IPS RGB display for approximately $1,900 to $2,100 retail. Other SKUs start with the Core i5-1450HX and RTX 4050 with full DCI-P3 colors instead, but the native 1600p resolution is the same across the board. Alternatives to the Legion Pro 516 IRX9 include other upper mid-range 16-inch gaming laptops like the HP Omen Transcend 16, Asus ROG Zephyrus G16, or MSI Stealth 16 case. Small external changes. Lenovo utilizes similar gray aluminum materials across its Legion lineup, and the Legion Pro 516 IRX9 is no different. New to the model this year are the redesigned ventilation grills along the bottom panel D-side, which are now extended hexagons instead of rectangles. The change is predominantly superficial, and the rest of the chassis is otherwise the same as the Legion Pro 516 IRX8. The Legion Pro 516 remains one of the largest and heaviest 16-inch gaming laptops by over 600 grams in some cases. However, the bigger size isn't wasted as the Lenovo ships with proper Core HX series CPUs, whereas smaller and lighter alternatives like the Alienware M16R2 may ship with slower Core Ultra CPUs instead. Connectivity port options remain competitive, although the lack of an integrated SD card reader might irk some content creators. The printed port symbols along the thermal deck make it much easier to visually identify the rear ports when compared to laptops like the Alienware M16R2 or HP Omen Transcend 16. However, the symbols are not illuminated, unlike on the Legion Pro 7 series. While laptops supporting Thunderbolt 5 are only now beginning to hit the market, the Legion Pro 516 is still on Thunderbolt 4 only communication, and Intel AX to 1.1 comes standard for Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.2 connectivity. We experienced no issues when paired to our Asus AXE11000 test router. Webcam. While our test unit comes with a 2MP webcam, some SKUs may only have a 1MP webcam. An electronic shutter comes standard with no IR options. Maintenance. The motherboard incorporates only minor changes from last year's design. The WLAN, RAM, and SSD slots are protected under additional aluminum plates. Interestingly, the Legion Pro 516 utilizes fewer but thicker copper heat pipes than the Legion 516 design. Accessories and warranty. There are no extras in the box other than the AC adapter and paperwork. The usual 1-year limited manufacturer warranty applies if purchased in the US. Input devices. Familiar Legion Experience keyboard. Much like on the recent Yoga Slim 714 G9, the Legion Pro 516 G9 has replaced the second CTRL key with a dedicated Copilot key. Microsoft is expected to launch a significant update for Windows this year revolving around AI, and so the new key is Lenovo's way of future-proofing the laptop. The typing experience is otherwise the same as on the Legion Pro 516G8 as key sizes and symbols have not changed. Legion models continue to be one of the few gaming laptops with both a numpad and full-size arrow keys. The keyboard backlight can be configured with either single-zone or quad-zone RGB. For perky RGB lighting, users will have to consider the pricier Legion Pro 7 series instead. Touchpad: the Mylar ClickPad is smaller than the one on the Razer Blade 1612 by 7.5 cm versus 17 by 9.7 cm, but it's still spacious enough for simple tasks like browsing. Clicking continues to be shallow and with not enough feedback for an unsatisfyingly spongy feel. Display: full sRGB and fast refresh come standard. 3 display options are now available, whereas last year's model was limited to only 2. All are matte IPS with advanced Optimus support, but only to support HDR. Interestingly, our test unit utilizes the Bow NE160QDMNYC, whereas last year's model would come with the Optronics B160QANO 3.1. Both otherwise offer the same 165 Hz refresh rate, fast black-white response times, and full sRGB colors for a similar viewing experience. While still an excellent panel for gaming and casual editing purposes, it lacks Windows variable refresh rate support, which is a new feature on some other laptops like the Framework Laptop 16. Furthermore, HDR on IPS panels is not as impressive as HDR on OLED or Mini LED due to their deeper black levels and brighter whites. Users will instead have to upgrade to the pricier Legion Pro 9 series for such higher-end display features. The display comes pre-calibrated out of the box with average grayscale and color delta values of just 1.5 and 0.97, respectively, which is surprising to see on a mid-range gaming laptop. An end-user calibration is therefore not required for most users. Outdoor visibility hasn't changed much from last year's model since maximum brightness is about the same. While the model offers brighter panels, the increase isn't significant enough to make a noticeable difference outdoors. Testing conditions: we set Lenovo Vantage to Performance Mode, DGPU Mode, and Windows to Performance Mode prior to running the benchmarks below. GPU overclock is also enabled by default to +100 +100 MHz clock. VRAM Advanced Optimus is supported. As usual, G-Sync is only active for the main display when set to DGPU mode. Processor CPU performance is excellent, especially when compared to the HP Omen Transcend 16, which comes with the same Core i9-14900HX processor but is more heavily throttled. It also offers a very respectable performance boost of almost 50% over the Core i7-13700X in our older Legion 5 Pro 16IRX8 test unit. Even so, overall performance is comparable to the less expensive Core i9-1390HX, since the i9-1490HX is merely a rebrand. Performance sustainability is good but not perfect. For example, performance would drop by about 6% over time when running Cinebench R15 XT in a loop. The dip is thankfully not as severe as what we observed on the aforementioned HP laptop, as shown by the graph below. Downgrading to the i7-1470HX or i5-1450HX is expected to reduce performance by about 35 to 45%, since these are also rebrands of the older i7-1370HX and i5-1350HX. Respectively. Cinebench R15 multi-loop, however, the CPU would quickly stabilize at 2.8 GHz and 100 for W in order to maintain a more manageable core temperature of 89°C. Though slightly warmer than on last year's model, it is at least cooler than on the Alienware M16R2 with a slower Core Ultra 7 CPU. Under similar conditions, graphics performance is reduced when switching from performance mode to balanced mode, as noted in the GPU performance section below. GPU board power draw and clock rate on performance mode would drop from 114W and 2640 MHz respectively to 2280 MHz and 77W on balanced mode. On the other hand, core temperatures are notably cooler by about 10°C when running on balanced mode since overall performance is slower. System performance benchmark scores are consistently ahead of the older Legion Pro 516 IRX8 since our unit comes configured with higher-end Core i9 and GeForce RTX parts. We also didn't experience any wake from sleep issues that we saw on the recent Alienware M16R2. DPC latency shows DPC issues when opening multiple browser tabs of our homepage. 4K video playback at 60 FPS is otherwise perfect in iGPU mode with no dropped frames recorded. Storage devices are unit chips with the Samsung PM9A1 instead of the SK Hynix PC801 as found on last year's Legion Pro 516 IRX8. Interestingly, our Samsung drive would exhibit throttling with transfer rates dropping from 6,600 megabytes per second to just 3,300 megabytes as halfway into our disk sploop test. Meanwhile, the SK Hynix drive in last year's model would have no issues maintaining much higher transfer rates under similar conditions as shown by our comparison graph below. There is unfortunately no easy way to know which SSD the model will ship with before purchasing. GPU performance graphics options include the GeForce RTX 4050, 4060, and 4070 with the same 140W TGP target. We're willing to bet that the model can support faster RTX 4080 and 4090 options given its size and weight, but Lenovo wants to reserve such high-end options for the costlier Legion Pro 7 series instead. Nevertheless, the RTX 4070 in our Legion Pro 516 runs very well with benchmark results that are up to 15% faster than the average laptop in our database with the same GPU option. Downgrading to the RTX 4060 or 4050 configuration is expected to impact graphics performance by about 10 to 20% and 25 to 35% respectively. Users upgrading from an older RTX 3070 laptop will not see significant benefits unless if the title supports DLSS 3 as the feature continues to be exclusive to RTX 4080 Lovelace GPUs. Gaming performance, our Lenovo almost consistently outperforms the Alienware M16R by 5 to 10% even though both ship with the same 140W GeForce RTX 4070 GPU. The difference likely comes down to our faster Core i9 1490HX CPU, whereas the Alienware comes with the Core Ultra 7 155H instead. The mobile RTX 4070 performs poorly at 4K resolutions since it is much weaker than a proper desktop RTX 4070. For these scenarios, you'll want to enable DLSS 2 and/or frame generation whenever applicable to get smoother frame rates. For example, running Cyberpunk 2077 at native 4000 with ultra settings and no RT would result in an average frame rate of just 21. If DLSS 3 is enabled on balanced, however, average frame rate would jump to 64. Emission system noise fan noise is generally louder than what we recorded on last year's Core i7 and RTX 4060 model, potentially due to our faster Core i9 and RTX 4070 configuration when running undemanding loads like browsers or video. Fan noise would typically hover just under 30 decibels, which is largely inaudible in most scenarios. When running 3D MARK06, however, the fans pick up speed rather quickly even when set to balanced mode. Interestingly, fan noise when gaming on balanced mode is identical to performance mode at 51 decibels. This is supported by our stress test measurements above, where core temperatures would be noticeably cooler on balanced mode. As a result, we recommend gaming on performance mode, as balanced mode does not offer a noticeably quieter experience. At over 50 decibels, the Lenovo is going to be louder than most other gaming laptops regardless. Surface temperatures can be warmer than we recorded on last year's model. When gaming, for example, much of the keyboard would be 40°C compared to only 36°C on the Legion Pro 516 or 30°C on the Alienware M16. R2, the palm rests and WASD keys would remain cooler to keep hands comfortable when gaming, but the rest of the laptop will be quite toasty. Energy management power consumption running Witcher 3 would hover around 220W to be more demanding than what we recorded on last year's model. It's also noticeably higher than the HP Omen Transcend 16, which ships with the same CPU and GPU as our Lenovo. Much of a difference can be attributed to the Core i9 CPU in the Lenovo, which maintains a higher power state when the system is set to performance mode. We're able to record a temporary maximum draw of about 274W when the CPU and GPU are each at 100% utilization. The large approximately 19.9 x 9.9 x 2.6 cm 300W AC adapter is the same one that ships with the Legion 515, Legion 517, and Legion 716 models. Battery life at 80Wh. Battery capacity is smaller than most other 16-inch laptops where 90Wh or greater is common. Even so, battery life is longer than on last year's Legion Pro 516 X8 by almost 90 minutes. The Zephyrus G16 and Alienware M16 R2 can each last for hours longer, but they also ship with slower Core Ultra 7 CPUs. Charging from empty to full capacity is very fast at just under an hour compared to 1.5 to 2 hours on most other laptops. Lenovo Rapid Charge is toggled on by default. The system can also be charged with third-party USB-C adapters via the rear USB-C port, similar to the recent Alienware M18 R2. The Lenovo Legion Pro 516 G9 doesn't offer enough over its immediate predecessor to be worthy of an upgrade. It's just as good as before, but it doesn't move the needle very much as it's locked to the same GPU options alongside rebranded Raptor Lake HX CPUs. In other words, the 2024 Legion Pro 516 performs almost identically to the less expensive 2023 version when it comes to gaming. It would be wise to check for any deals on the 2023 skis before considering the newer 2024 options. There are a few minor additions, with the most notable being a new DCI-P 3-panel option, whereas last year's model was limited to sRGB colors only. However, innate drawbacks such as the large size, large AC adapter, and loud fans remain. The Legion Pro 516 can be attractive to those who prefer Core HX series CPUs over the slower Core Ultra options. Otherwise, smaller or more portable alternatives like the Asus ROG Zephyrus G16 or Alienware M16 R2 have slower processor performance but with almost the same gaming performance. Price and availability: Lenovo is now shipping the Legion 5 Pro 16 starting at $1,770. For the Core i7-1450HX and RTX 4060 configuration, up to $2,000 for our Core i9-1490HX and RTX 4070 configuration.